Good. So good morning. This is Google Classroom for Novices. We've had a couple, I think 3 or 4 Google Classrooms with Jaclyn last week, and they were so well attended that we figured we better keep going with these. And we've had some discussions about there's so much I need to start over. So as Jaclyn said, this is Groundhog Day and we're doing it again. So please share your questions. You can, if on your control panel on the right, there is a place that's for questions. Why can't I see it? There it is. Everybody can find that. You can type in questions. Karen and I will be monitoring them and answering them if we can. If they're questions about Google Classroom specific and we can't answer them, Jaclyn she's able to do this. She can talk and she can read these questions at the same time and answer them. If we don't get to them during the presentation, we will send out a link at the end that has the questions and the answers. So about 2 hours after the webinar is done, we will send that out. Let's see. So we have Jaclyn. She does educational consulting. She's a total expert in the Google Classroom. She's our guru. One of the things she said at one of the webinars was that when she figured out that she started using Google Classroom and she realized that she could be in 2 places at one time. That was what sold her on this, right, Jaclyn? Yeah, okay. And I'm here. I will be monitoring. Karen will be monitoring.
Hello.
And we want to thank the DOE for letting us and providing these webinars for the whole state. It's great. And thank you especially to all the teachers. I know that this is really stressful when the rest of the world is relaxing and not working. Teachers are going crazy trying to educate all the children. And I know the parents are also in the same boat. So thank you very much. Everyone is muted at the beginning and really through the whole thing, because with so many we right now have 672 people logged on, and if we let everybody be unmuted, we would just have a cacophony of lots of noise. The DOE has a new page called NewHampshireLearnsRemotely.com. You can see the URL up there. There is tons of information out there, so please go and check that out. And today, this is our agenda. So Jaclyn, I'll start. I'll tell the agenda. Create and join classes. She's going to talk about that. And then adjusting all the settings. And she's going to talk about how you create posts in the Google Classroom, how you give feedback to students using the Google Drive as part of the classroom, pulling in information from there, and planning, how you can plan for the day and plan strategically for future classroom days. And I think, is there anything I missed, Karen and Mike?
No, I don't think you missed anything. I'm noticing on the questions there's already about 25 questions over there. But we will let you present a little bit, Jaclyn, and then we will manage these questions and try to get some of them answered. So,
yep, so be patient, take teensy-weensy little steps, and call if you need help. And I will change presenter, right? Is that what I do here?
Yep, you give the screen to Jaclyn.
Gotta find Jaclyn. Wow.
The numbers are still going up.
Yeah, Jaclyn, there you
are. There it is. Okay.
Oh, I didn't mention the logos. You want to talk about the logos? We didn't. I want to. Yeah. Are you still seeing my screen?
We're seeing Jaclyn's screen now.
Well, when we go back to our screen, I'll tell you we created a logo that has to do with social distancing. A lot of people are changing their logos to spread out, not to have touching parts. So I'll show you that at the end. Take it away, Jaclyn.
Okay, great. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, wonderful. I just wanted to double check that. Well, welcome everyone. Happy Monday on this 3rd week that we're about to begin. And I'm really grateful that you were all able to find time to join me this morning. I know that so many of you were thrown into something. So many of us everywhere were thrown into something overnight that we may not understand completely, and we're all just taking it a step at a time. So kudos to you for carving out an hour to learn something new and help yourself get a little more adjusted to a new tool, or to find out if this tool is right for you in your educational setting. Today, I designed this webinar to really go through things step by step. I will try my very best to answer all of the questions, either during the walkthrough of Google Classroom, or if not, at the end of the webinar. Demonstrated Success will send me a spreadsheet of all the questions that show up here in GoToWebinar, and I will answer all of them. So please be on the lookout for that. So welcome, and we're just going to dive in and get started. I'm going to post a document into the chat box just to show you. You can follow along with that if you want, and that's the agenda that I have listed here. It also has some resources at the end, and I'll tell you what kinds of things to expect in those links. And today I've already done, as they said, a number of webinars that focus on or integrate Google Classroom, and we found that there is a broad need for people who are just really trying this for the first time and haven't had a lot of experience with it, or maybe no experience with it. So today we're going to start from the beginning, go through step by step, and see what we can learn. So before we take a look at Google Classroom, the one thing I've been starting all conversations and webinars with at this time was just remembering that we are trying to plan for pedagogically sound instruction the best we can, given that we are teaching in a digital environment that isn't necessarily the best case scenario for many kinds of learners. And so we're going to do the best we can with the tools we have to support our goals. The number one most important thing is maintaining relationships and community, really understanding the community you serve and what they need at this time. Sometimes it's really hard not to get defensive about things like that. But if we all, give, use these tools to help support our communication and support of students and families, we will be on a good path. And then thinking about curriculum, since this is not business as usual, you will not be able to do everything you planned for the spring. Things are going to slow down considerably, and you will have to work with your teams to prioritize. So if you do end up using Google Classroom with your school, really prioritizing what kinds of learning are going to be the most beneficial at this time for students, and thinking about the fact that everyone is in a variety of home settings, from perhaps very organized to very disorganized, and people working and a lot going on. So just keeping that in mind, and then always choosing the supporting tech and tools that help you reach your goals. And so not picking the tools first, but picking the tools that support your goals. So with that said, I'm just going to jump over to Google Classroom, and I'm going to start from the very beginning of getting into it, in case you are someone who has never been there yet. Classroom is one of the core G Suite apps, and so if your school has Google Apps for Education, and Classroom is toggled on for your school by your G Suite admin. You can get there by classroom.google.com. But you can also get there in Chrome from this waffle grid in the top right. This is a quick place to find all of your Google apps, your core apps and beyond. And so you may also find Google Classroom listed there. If you are brand new to Google Classroom, or you haven't joined or created any classrooms yet, this screen would be blank. It would be completely blank. This is where this is almost like if you're going down the hallway at school and you see everybody's doors into everyone's classes. That's a good way to think about it. To get started with it, what you would need to do is decide if you were joining or creating a class. So if you are joining maybe a class, sometimes schools use Google Classroom for professional development. So maybe you were joining a class with other educators. Perhaps you are creating your own class so that you can get started with your students. All of that begins right here. And I'm actually going to turn off my camera, even though I don't get to see all of you, but I'm sure it's nice to see a face. I'm going to turn off my camera because my screen will be larger, and that way you'll be able to see a whole lot more. So do that, and then that way you can see the whole screen. So if you're going to create or join a class, you'll start up here. I'm going to go with create. We'll try join later. I'm going to start with create. And so thinking in terms of creating your classroom. Now you want to think, okay, do you need your own classroom? Is it better if you join someone else's as a co-teacher? Do you need your own class for all of your students? Do you want to maybe create small group classes later? So lots of things to think about, and you'll shift and change your mind. So just be patient with yourself. So I'm going to start with our test class Monday. That's kind of a boring name, but that's what I came up with today. And these are details you can add if you need to. I'm going just to call this March 2020, and I'm clicking create. Once you create the class, it will show up on your class home screen. And we open right up to the class. And so just to show you where I came from, up here in the top left, this is where all of my classes are. And all I have to do is click classes, and then it will bring up this whole screen for me again. You can see all those here. So you may have no classes here. You may already have some if you've joined a number from your school. This is where you would also find archived classes. That's if a class has been not really deleted, it's hidden. And this is also where you'll find your settings. Now, this is a super popular feature. So I'm just going to jump in there quickly because this is where you turn off the email notifications. You may have found that when your school began with Google Classroom, email was out of control. And so here's where you want to decide, I don't want email at all. I only want to check notifications through Google Classroom. Or you may choose specifics that you want to do. You may want to get notifications for when work is submitted or if there's a private comment. You know, I would probably keep private comments on work depending on my situation. So just thinking through what it is you would like to do with notifications, and you can always change your mind later. So I'm going to go back into our test class and just kind of walk you through the anatomy of Google Classroom and taking a look at the interface. So here's the name of our class. This is the class code. This is what you would send to people to join your class. There are a number of ways you can invite teachers and students to your class. This one, if you click on that little box there, it makes it nice and big on the screen. If you're doing a screen share, video chat with Zoom or Meet, and you want to show students the code, or if you just want to copy and paste the code into an email for families and things like that. So here we have our stream. If you use social media at all, the stream is exactly what it sounds like. It's where everything flows through: posts, announcements, assignments if you choose to have classwork showing up there in the stream, and finding out on the left what is late, what is due, what's upcoming, that kind of thing. So your stream, you can decide who's allowed to post. You can decide if only the teacher can post, or maybe only the teacher posts, but students can comment, or maybe you're going to allow it to be a free-for-all and let students comment. You know your students best. My recommendation is usually to hold on to the tried and true gradual release, where you begin with posting so that you can model and talk about digital citizenship and help students understand that this digital space is somewhere where everyone can see what they are posting and saying. It's a good life lesson for them to start practicing now. So this is the stream where those pop up. So I'm going to skip over classwork for a moment and head to people. So right now there's no one in this class. In a little bit, if those of you out there are feeling brave and want to jump in and join my class, I've set it up so we could do that for those of you who want to. And if you do join, you would show up here on the list as a student. And any teachers or co-teachers will show up here. So let's say, for example, I'm a 7th grade math teacher, and I've created my period 4 math class. But I also have some support staff that show up in that class sometimes. I could add them in here as a co-teacher. And the only thing co-teachers cannot do is delete your class or archive your class. So they really have all of the abilities that you do, which is helpful because if you want them to post work just for the specific students privately that they are supporting, you can do that in classwork. Grades is exactly what it sounds like. Anytime you list an assignment, it's going to show up. I'm not going to focus too much on grades today because I really want to help everyone get settled and to adjust to the kinds of things you can do before we think too far about formal assessment. Tony, you are quick. So Tony just joined our class. She saw the code. Good for you. Welcome, Tony. Okay, I'm going to jump over to classwork. So I think it actually might be helpful. I'm going to pull up a different Google Classroom right now to show you a completed classwork page. There are lots of ways you can organize it, and we'll take a look at that. Okay, so here I am in the classwork tab. So just a little history on Google Classroom. It used to only have 2 tabs, Stream and People. That was it. You couldn't track grades. There wasn't a separate classwork tab. Everything was in the stream and everything was tagged with a certain topic. And so when you were in your home screen down the left, you would select the topic that you wanted to find for your math assignments or Unit 4 or whatever it might be. But G Suite for Education created the classwork tab to create an organized place for resources, units, assignments, and anything that students would need to regularly access.
Jaclyn,
So there, yes.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second? Can you just show us the once again, show us how to join the code to join. A couple people want to join your other class.
The code and how to.
Sure. You know what? I will do that now. I was going to wait in case it was overwhelming for any of you, but definitely if you feel like you can follow along and be in the classroom, then by all means go for it. But please know if you don't join, you're not missing anything. I don't want anyone to feel as though you're going to miss something if you don't join the class. Let me jump back over there.
Thanks.
Sure. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my class code. So this is an O, not a 0, in case anyone isn't copying and pasting. So there's the code, and if you do want to join, when you are on your main screen, you would go to the top right where the plus is, click join, and you would type it in right there. You'll be joining as a teacher if you get that option. If you haven't done anything in Classroom yet and you're just making an account for the first time, then it may ask you that. But if you are already set with your G Suite account, then it will take you right there. All right, double check on any questions on that before we dig in.
And did you get the code? And can you maybe we could put it in the questions and send it to everyone?
Yeah, just put it in the chat box if people take a look in the chat box. But the other thing I can do is I'll just leave this on the screen for a moment if anyone wants to write it down. If the code does not work for you, chances are it had to do with one of the letters. That is one thing that tends to happen. The other piece is that if you get invalid, it could be that your school does not allow you to join classes with your domain. You would have to join with a personal Google account. And so those of you who are getting invalid, that just means that you are logged in, as you should be, to your school Google account in your browser. You'll want to join in a different window. I can show you quickly how to do that if that's helpful for some of you. You can go to what's called an incognito window. In Chrome, you would go to File, choose File Incognito Window, and you would log in your personal Gmail, or you could open a new window altogether and log in your personal Gmail. But again, it likely will not let you log in with your school addresses, because schools generally have those settings that you can't join outside of your domain. If it's giving you a lot of trouble, I can always walk you through it later. But at this point, yes, it's absolutely okay to just watch Alicia. You won't miss anything by not being in the classroom. All right, I'm going to jump back over to the classwork so we can talk about that classwork tab. Here we go. So in the classwork tab, this is where you decide how you want to organize resources for students. Do you want to label them by week? Do you want to label them by unit? Sometimes in online learning, we use the word module, and that way kind of gives it that idea of flexible learning, that you work your way through the module. And so to create that material, that resource material, assignment, you would start here right with the Create button. So I'm going to start with just a resource material. So maybe I say Module 1, thinking Earth Science right now. So let's just say the Sun, Moon, Earth. And here I could give a description of this resource material I'm adding. When I click Add, I have some options here. I could be adding this resource from Google Drive if I've already created it or I already have it in my drive. It could be a link that is already, it's a link to a website or a link to a document elsewhere on another site that is helpful for students here. It could be a file, a PDF that's on your computer, on your hard drive, or it could be something you have in Word or Excel that you haven't turned into a Google document yet, which is totally fine. You could do that here, or you can paste in a YouTube link. So if you know the link to the video, you would paste it in. If you knew you would recognize it right away, you could search it right from here and say, oh, that was the one I watched the other day, Storybots, and I could click Add, that kind of thing. If I'm choosing from Google Drive, it's going to pull up everything in my drive, and I can say, oh, here it is. Here was the paper I was looking for. I want them to be able to view this, and you can link things that way. I've seen people organize classrooms in different ways. My best advice for you is to think what makes the most sense, what would make the most sense in your physical space, and then translate that to digital space. So students are used to having collections of resources, all the resources for one assignment listed that way, you could do that. If students are used to working sequentially through assignments, you could do it that way. I'll go back over just to my example of a completed one. So here for this particular class that I taught, I thought it would be helpful if I organized them by sessions with a separate section for resources that could be accessed at any time throughout the unit. So I decided on session 1, session 2, and so on and so forth. So you could think of assignments, units, that kind of thing. And you can see with these icons, these are different kinds of things. They are assignments, or I'm posing a question. I posted a material resource. And as you click on things, Everything is right there. I can say, oh, that session 3 recording was right there. Or if I want to look back and say, what was that assignment? I can click right on it. As the teacher, I get lots of details on that. As the student, you only see your own information. You can even view the assignment in a full screen. For you, for the teacher, you see everyone's work. Students only see their own work, and that is where they access their assignment and their work. It takes a little bit of time to get used to classwork, so be patient with yourself and start just a little bit at a time, one thing at a time, so that you can begin to get comfortable with all of the options you have there. Something I mentioned earlier that I wanted to review is that we talked about how your stream could be where people post, and you can decide whether or not classwork will show up there. So I just wanted to jump over and model that. So here I am. This is the gear for the settings in my classroom. I'll go back up there again. Anytime you see a gear in Google, it's going to be settings. This is different from the gear we found back here, where I was at the classes page where I could see all of my classes and set my settings for those. These are the settings just for this classroom. So I can put any class details I need in here that will help keep us linked to what we need, the information we need. My class code is here. I can disable the code if I don't want anyone else joining. I can reset the code if I need to. And so that will bring up different letters. The thing about the code is if there are lots of L's or O's, it's helpful to reset it so you don't get letters that look like numbers. Just a little tip. So right now in the stream, I have that students can post and comment. I'm going to change that to students can only comment. My other option is that students can't comment at all. They could still comment privately on an assignment to you in their assignment view, but this is just for the stream. So I'm going to change this to students can only comment. I recommend this because it's a good way to keep your stream cleaner. If everybody can post and comment, the stream gets really full really fast, and it can be really tricky. So classwork on the stream. So do I want, when I post an assignment, when I post materials, when I post any classwork, do I want it to show up on the stream? Or do I want to give students the direction to always check classwork? So here, if you choose that all assignments, all classwork will show up with details as though it were the full assignment view, you would choose this. If you just wanted a condensed one, it would just list this assignment is new, takes up less room on the screen, and then students would go access that in classwork. Or you could take posts about classwork off the stream altogether. Depending on the kind of content you're interacting with your students over, you may want to do that, and then students know to just visit classwork and move through those topics that you set. So those are the main settings I wanted to show you right now. I'm going to untoggle Guardian summaries. I find those to be stressful because they're really just summarizing everything that's been posted, and that can be really vague or confusing for families. And so I myself wouldn't use that right away at this time. I'm just going to jump over and take a look at questions to see if there are any questions on these settings. Here. So I do see a question about if the teacher, so Sharon's asking, if the teacher has created assignments, but they're just listed, are you able to later change that to show it by week? Yes, I think I understand your question, and that's a really good segue into what I'm about to show you. So let's go back into Classroom, or classwork rather. Okay, so let's say I created this assignment and I realize that I have a list of assignments and they're not organized by any sort of topic. So right now what I'm going to need to do is decide, okay, I need to create a topic called Module 1. So I'm going to click Create Topic. I will call this Module 1, and I'm going to add the topic. This is going to show up on the left now that students can easily click and toggle and filter out the topics. And so now I want this to be in there. I can just drag it right there. I dragged it right under there. The other way I can do that is these 3 dots in Google Land, these 3 vertical dots, sometimes called a snowman or a stoplight. I can also edit here. And if I am editing this assignment, I can choose, it opens the whole assignment for me. I can choose the topic. And if I say, oh, wait, this actually needs to go under module 4, I can create module 4 here. I can revise this, and I can save it. The other thing to notice right here in your topics, in your assignments and topics, is that you can specifically assign something to only some students. So this is how you can differentiate. This is how you can assign small group work. This is how, if you are a support specialist in the classroom, you can post things only for the student or students that you're supporting. You just check off their names and it goes right to them. I'm going to do save here and head back into classwork. Just going to take a peek at questions, and then I want to take a look at just helping everyone understand the kinds of posts that you can do and how that is integrating with Google Drive, because that could be a little confusing. So there's a question, is this what support staff would use so you don't get 40 emails from each student comment? Absolutely. I would turn off all email notifications if you are in multiple classrooms, and just maybe leave on that someone commented on your own post. Do students need to be invited before posting assignments? Yeah, let's look at the People tab. And class settings, Melissa, I went to the gear in the top right when I was in the class itself. Let's take a look at people, because I think I did skip over that. Apologies. So we looked at what people would look like here. Lots of people are joining. Thanks for joining, everyone. This is great. So right here within people, I can click the plus sign. I can invite students. If the G Suite admin has already created a group called grade 4, I could just type in grade 4 in my last name if that was the name of the group. That's helpful if your IT or your G Suite admin has already created groups. You could invite a whole class that way and they would just pop right in there. But otherwise, you could just start typing names that are in your domain and start clicking on them and they would all pop up. This is also where individually you would manage students. If your school is using email, you could do that. And over here with the checkbox, notice this actions turned blue when I checked that, gave me these options. If I need to manage Carrie, I can select on her, choose from the drop down. I can remove her from the class. I can mute her. So let's say you worked with your students on on the ways that we're going to post and the kind of respect we're going to practice in digital citizenship, and she was having a hard time with that. You worked with her, she needs to be muted for a week or whatever it is that you decide. You can do that from here as well. So that is where you can connect and add students, or you can give them the code. It really depends on how many students you had to add and how many how many of them have access to email, or, it just depends on whether you want to do the code or just manually add them. I'm going to take a quick peek back over to the questions about that. Does the class code need to be included through a link to do a Google Meet? Google Meet is a separate app, so you don't need Classroom at all to use Google Meet. You would just create the video chat using Meet, and you would paste the link to the Meet in an email to families or students. Is there a way to get rid of old student comments without doing it student by student? You would have to do it post by post. So within here on my main screen, I could take 3 dots and edit. If it was a student, I can click delete. Unfortunately, there's not a bulk way to do that. And let's see. I created an assignment and realized I needed to make a change. I couldn't make a copy for each student. Is it best to make view only and students copy and make another? Great question. All right, we are going to dig into this here in classwork. So what this person, sorry, I missed your name. I just closed the window out. What this person was asking is when they were creating an assignment, they realized if they wanted to create, let's see, a narrative writing draft. Let's say you have created a narrative writing assignment and students are going to be working through their draft or any of their pre-writing activities on a doc that you've already started that maybe just says narrative assignment in the directions. I'm going to use this one as an example. Let's pretend that's what that is. When I click add, right now I have to think through, okay, what do I need students to be able to do? Well, if they can only view it, they won't be able to edit it. So if I want them all to edit the same document, I would choose this. Think about this though, because too many cooks in the kitchen is definitely a thing in digital space. It's really hard to know where your digital real estate is for all ages if you do this. You could do this with a small group. You could do, everyone can edit the file if you linked a slideshow and then you labeled each slide with the student name so they knew which slide was theirs, then they would all be within the same slides. You could do that. But if I want all of the students to have their own document for drafting that I can easily access in the assignment without going into Drive, I want to choose make a copy for each student. Now, what the person was asking earlier was, is she realized that when she clicked assign and went back to edit the assignment, this is a really annoying feature that I know that Google is getting a lot of feedback about, is that once you do that, you can edit the assignment, but you can't edit if you want to add something else that students can get a copy of. We can't change the form. I can't change this, that students will now just view it. So that is kind of annoying. It is what it is. And you can always just start a fresh assignment if you want, or you could just add another resource. But yeah, it's not ideal. So really thinking through what you want your assignment to contain, instructions, thinking through what each material will do for students is a good way to go. So Marie, you're asking to repeat the steps, but I'm not sure which one you're talking about. I think you're asking about the assignment. So absolutely, because I'm going to show how to do a few more assignments. And can you show how an EL teacher can add assignments as a co-teacher? Yes, and so that will serve a lot of you. So I'm going to save this and back out. So let's say I am creating an assignment. Let's say this time I want to make this a quiz assignment. And perhaps this is a visual quiz, just thinking in terms of an EL teacher working with emerging bilinguals. Maybe I'm creating a quiz with pictures and matching words. That's just the first idea that came to mind. So vocabulary, picture match. I put my instructions here. Now, if you are a support staff and you're not wanting to assign this quiz to everyone, this is where you would click all students in the top right. You would click the box to uncheck all students, and then you would only choose your students and assign that way. And that works for any of these. That works for if you are adding in a link, file, video, something from Google Drive, anything within this assignment, you could change this to ungraded, or a lot of people are doing at this time, because there's an added layer of stress for many students at this time, you could do 1 point. Some people are doing 0 or 1, completed or not. Choose your due date if you want to have that, and so on. I'm just going to check back and see if that answered that for you. To assign for certain students. Okay, so the question is, I thought for grading it was best if each had a copy, but then can't add info. I'm not exact. I think I know what you might be asking, Celeste. It depends on the type of assignment. For a quiz, taking the quiz, they don't get, the quiz itself doesn't copy itself. It just sends it. It's like when you're taking a survey and you visit the survey link. Everybody everyone puts in their own questions, even though they've gotten to the same link, if that makes sense. So I don't know if you have any clarifying ways you could ask that. If you could just tell me the scenario you're thinking of, I might be able to model that. Someone asked to show the students again in the top right, where it says the students. That's where you can select which students are going to get that assignment. Now, if you're a teacher that teaches in multiple classes, and you know you're assigning this vocabulary picture match to periods 1, 4, and 7, you can click them all here. So you could select any classrooms that you have that need to get this exact assignment, and it will push them out that way. Let's take a look here and see, just for a moment. I'm just going to click back to our list and see how we're doing. I'd like to look at a few more kinds of posts. And since some of you are in the classroom, I think I'm going to have you maybe participate in an assignment so that all of you can see what the student sees and what the teacher sees. The view is pretty much the same. It's just that the student doesn't see everyone's work. They only see their own. So just taking a look back here, let's go back to our classroom. I'm going to create, I'm just going to create a written assignment for a moment. So if you wanted students to do a reflection, I might put the details in here. This rubric feature is really kind of cool if you want to really help students understand the elements that you want them to include. You can add that in here. I don't have time to go into detail with this right now, but something to explore. Or you could just put it here. Share 3 new things you learned to do in remote teaching so far. I'm just going to do a 3, 2, 1 here. 2 questions you still have. What is the one thing you miss most about seeing students? And so if I wanted students to complete this in a document, so it was a lengthier reflection, I say, okay, I'm going to add something from Google Drive. I'd like them to do this on a doc, but I don't have one yet. So I can create one. So here I'm going to click create, and I want to link a doc to this assignment so everyone can get their own copy. It's going to open it over here, and I'm going to call it week 1 reflection. And when you put it in the assignment, it's going to put student's name on it for them, which is amazing. Anything that puts a student's name on it automatically is gold in my book. So here I am back here. It still says untitled, but when I send it, it will update with the title of this. So now I have my reflection document. I want everyone to get their own, make a copy for each student. I want this to go to the test class only that we're in right now. And I just would like this to be 1 point, completed or not. I'll just add a due date so you can see what that looks like. Topic, let's say I'll just do module 1 so you can see that right now. All students, I'm just going to leave it for everyone. And I'm going to click assign. Now also up here in the top right, you can schedule this. So if you want to schedule all of your things at the start of the week so they come out each morning, you can do that. If you got started, but you got distracted by one of the many things that are probably going on in your own home settings right now, you can choose Save Draft and come back to this draft later, or you could discard it altogether. So I'm going to click Assign. And while this is being assigned, it's going to show up for those of you here in the stream. So right now, here's an example of assignment classwork notifications showing up in condensed view. So it doesn't show all the details. It just shows generally what it is. So students would see this. They would say, oh, week one reflection. I'm going to click on that. And for students, it will take them right to the assignment. So if you click on that, you won't see this screen. You're going to see your own assignment. And so those of you that are in the classroom and feel like you can multitask, you don't have to obviously complete the whole reflection right now, but if you would open that assignment, do some typing and click submit so that we can see what that looks like, that would be really great. And I'm just going to give you a few moments to do that while I click over and take a look at some other questions. I'm going to show you these two tabs too. So a student would see instructions for the assignment, and then they would see their work right here. And they would just see their OneDoc, and they would click on it and it would open. And so you can easily toggle between instructions and your assignment. Everything's here. If students have questions about it, they can post it right there and it posts to the whole class. If they want to ask you a private comment, right here where they see this just their OneDoc, there'll be a place for private comments as well. I'm going to pull up the questions right now while some people are completing the assignments. This is a great question. Thanks, Maureen. Maureen's asking, if you delete an assignment, does it delete your student responses? No, it doesn't. And I'm going to pop over to Drive and show you how that works now. How did I get to the class list in classwork? So because all these students, Laura, are in my class, that's why they are all showing up in the class list. Or I'm not sure if you were talking about this screen or you were possibly talking about the People tab. I'm not sure, so let me know if I didn't answer that for you. Let's see, why can't I see? Is there any way to make groups within a class so you don't have to select students individually? So there isn't at this time. I wish that there was. I've been asking for it for years. The way to do that at this time is to either select those students individually and assign, or you could create your own classroom. If you frequently work with a small group, then you could create your own classroom for them. And as long as students understood and were able to navigate to the different classes, then that would be an okay way to do that. So Haley or Hallie, I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to say your name, is asking, I'm in multiple classrooms, but there doesn't seem to be a way to leave comments on for my own posts without leaving it on. I turned it off and now get nothing, even though I have comments on my own posts turned on. I'm not sure, Haley, I'll have to take a closer look at that, but let's talk more after the webinar and you and I can problem solve that on email if you would like. So Joy says, as a unified arts teacher, she's joined all their classrooms and is getting all the comments. Since she has not created the classrooms, she's concerned she'll mess them up. I hear you. Lots of people are saying that. Step-by-step instructions on how to make it so you only see the comments on the specific assignment. If you have created that topic and those assignments underneath the topic, you are going to see all of them. So you may want to consider creating separate ones, but I'm not sure if that answers your question. So please email me after so I can help you problem solve this. There's a question about video. When you add a YouTube code, is that the only video they can access? Yes. So when you paste a YouTube link in, it does not take them to YouTube. it just opens the video right on the screen. And actually, I'm going to show that right now before I jump over to explain the connection with Google Drive to help you out, and then we'll come back to our assignment. So if I have posted a video, let's go here. Here's my video. Whoops. I want to view my material. Okay, so see how it just put the video on my screen? It didn't take me to YouTube. I'm right here. I'm just hanging out in Classroom. I'm watching it right here in Classroom. I can do everything I can usually do in YouTube, pause, move ahead. Now, certainly students could click and go to YouTube, and that is definitely something that happens. But the thing is with all of these tools is that if you model for students what their jobs are and you work with students on digital citizenship, it's a way that you're going to have some teachable moments to help kids stay right here in the materials that they need to complete. So it is tricky at this time, but the one thing that I really appreciate is that it just opens right here in the window for us. So just a quick look, let's think in terms of Google Drive. I'm going to go back to my class. Okay, so I went back up here to my menu. I have my classes. Here are all my classes that I'm a part of. I'll choose that. So at the bottom of each of these tiles, you can quickly get access to the gradebook for that class, or you can get access to the folder. So something to understand is that Google Drive, and I'll bring this up for a visual, Google Drive is like your home base for all of your documents and folders, anything you've uploaded in there, everything. It's really just, if you're used to working from a desktop or Microsoft Word, it's like you're in your desktop. It's the difference is that these everything in Google Drive here is a live link, and you share things via link. So Google Drive is your home base for all of your assignments, and for all of your documents rather. Classroom is integrated with it. It's pulling things in and out of Classroom as a workflow. It has created on its own a folder called Classroom. So here it is. I can find it on the left. If I look for my Classroom folder or my Drive folders here, I can also search it. So it has automatically created a folder called Classroom. Then it creates subfolders for each of the classrooms. And from there, it creates a subfolder specifically for each assignment. It's super organized in that way. You don't have to access things from Drive to interact with students' assignments in Classroom. I actually recommend you don't do that so that you don't get confused between reading an assignment in Drive or reading an assignment in Classroom. So that will bring us right over to our Classroom here. So here were the assignments. So far it shows here week 1 reflection, 18 were turned in, 18 were assigned. Everyone did it. That's in here. So I'm going to click on that. So over here, I can sort by status, first name, last name. I can click, I only want those who, oops, there we go. I can choose that I want to look at all students right now. I only want to look at those who were turned in, and it would filter those. And here I start working through and assessing. When I open an assignment, when it's done in this way, I get this frame, this assessment frame. And the first time you do it, it will walk you through all of the features. And so here's Carrie's. Carrie turned hers in, so I can see Carrie's work. I might add a comment. I'm just going to add a random comment. Use resources to help you with this problem or whatever it might be, and click comment. This way I can give feedback on the assignment right within the doc. Students can reply. This is great for working through writing or projects or anything where you need a little bit more back and forth with feedback. Once I'm done, I can move over here and say, okay, we completed it. Here's the grade. And then I could add private comments about the assignment that only go to Carrie. Great work, Carrie. I can see you worked hard on your draft and giving the feedback there. And that will show up on her screen when she's back in her assignment. The reason this is so helpful once you get used to it, setting up an assignment like this, is because if students all create their own documents and share them with you for work, it is going to be an absolute mess. It will be a mess in Drive. You'll get all sorts of things shared or things you won't be able to view, or it will be chaos. So if you want students to do something on an individual doc, you're going to want to create an assignment, link a doc, a copy for each student, and go from there. There are lots of other scenarios of assignments, but that's a good basic one to get started with. Let me take a look at questions. Sure, so as a teacher in Google Classroom, can we see the student's view? I mean, the way I do it sometimes is I'll add myself as a student in a fake classroom to see. You'll get used to the specific things that are different. It's usually words like the word return or submit or, click to turn in or something like that. What I do have for you is a cheat sheet resource that you can download from an amazing Google for Education certified trainer and teacher, Casey Bell. And that cheat sheet will help you and students, and you can just send it right out to them. That's going to be the best way to go to see the student view, I think. So Barb is asking about her personal email. You won't be able to add students if you create a classroom with your personal Gmail. You'll need to create your classroom with your school Google account, if that's the question that you're asking. Yes, you can change the class picture to personalize it. Absolutely. You can do that on the home screen. Okay, how do you schedule a Google Meet and an assignment material? Let's do that because I really think that's something that will be useful. Just really quick, if you did want to upload a photo or change the theme, you can do that right here. I'm on my stream in my class, and I can select one of these. Let's see. So if I wanted to have a Google Meet, I might add, let's see, I'm going to add a link. But the question was as an assignment. So let's actually do it that way. So I could even create a topic called Google Meets. Let's do that. Weekly Google Meets. Use these links for our weekly meetings, whatever that may be. So I'm going to jump off of this tab because I need to go into a separate app now. So I don't want to confuse you by clicking around screens too much. But for those of you that are interested in creating the Meet link, I'm going to go up here into my waffle grid. And I'm going to find, I'm in a different classroom here right now. Let's see. Here we go. I'm going to find Meet. Scrolling. Okay, there it is. Google Meet. So I went to the waffle grid, found Meet. I'm going to click on it. It says join or start a meeting. I'm going to click join, meeting code or nickname. I'm going to call this weekly morning meeting. Continue. Okay, and this is starting my meeting. Even if I'm not doing it right now, I can click join now. And what's going to happen is I'm going to get my link. So here's the link right here. And I like to do the phone too, in case that's helpful for people. That's what I'm going to use. All you have to do is click copy joining info. That copies it to your clipboard. Okay, I have the link for my weekly meeting. I'm going to click back into my classroom. Use this, I'll say this link for our weekly meetings. I'm going to click add, link, and paste it in. Whoops, need to get the, can't do the phone in there. So let's go back, sorry about that. I'm going to just grab the link, do this, cancel. That way I can paste everything in here. That way it says use this link or dial in. Now I'm just going to paste that link I grabbed from Meet right here. Oh, I did it again. Let's go back and grab that. Sorry about that, folks. Okay. All right. Paste that link in. Too many tabs open, that is for sure. All right, add my link, add link, and paste. So if you aren't quick with copying and pasting, you will get very quick at it in this new remote learning endeavor because everything really functions by a link. So if I want the link to this video chat to show up when I click join and I grab the link and paste it in here, that's how students will access it. So once I click assign, it's here, weekly Google Meet. If you want to set one up weekly so students can access that link weekly and it's part of an assignment, you could do that. Or you could just do one and tell students here, make sure for your weekly Google Meet, you go to the same link, and it could be the same link every time. Looking at our time, it's 11:01 and there's an hour is never enough time. I'm going to pop back over to questions in a moment and take a look here. Margaret is asking about the extension Equadio, having difficult trying to set up forms. Yeah, you know what, Margaret, email me and we can talk more about Equadio and hopefully we can get you using that. So Suzanne's asking, how do I receive email notifications only from students that I work with? You'll have to, if you create the posts, then you'll get those email notifications. I guess it depends on how you're set up. There's no way to only say this student's comments will only email me, unfortunately, but if you want help problem solving that, email me and I can help you with that. So I hope that gave you some overview of how to generally access, create, join, create an assignment. Oh, this is an important question. How do I translate my lessons from English into other languages? Use Google Translate. It works really well. For example, if you have something in a doc, so right now I'm in Google Docs, I'm in my assignment, all I would have to do is go into Tools. So I'm right here in the menu bar, Tools, Translate Document, choose a language, pick my language, translate, and it will create a new document and we'll call it Translated Copy of Week 1 Reflection. It works really well. I mean, obviously, because it's a computer doing it, there will be probably some errors and some nuances in language it doesn't pick up on, but the Translate tool works really well. You can also go into google.com and just type translate and you'll get a translating box right up there. All right, well, it is time. So I'm going to close, but I know that many of you have a number of questions. So please remember that I will answer all of the questions on a spreadsheet that will be sent out afterwards. And I'm always happy to help you problem solve and figure things out as we take on this time. So thank you everyone for carving out an hour for yourself today and be on the lookout.
Yeah, thank you, Jaclyn. Really, you give us so much information in this hour. We have probably 150 questions, and Jaclyn, we will send out a link so that you can see the answers. With Jaclyn's going to take some time and answer those questions for you. So thank you for that, Jaclyn. Be patient, take small steps. Just start really slowly. What we're doing is a huge change and everybody is just getting used to it. I know we kind of all feel like, oh my God, I'm so far behind, and everybody's confused and overwhelmed. So thank you, Jaclyn. You do help
Mhm.
quite a bit.
I
We
hope
want
so.
to, oh, you do. People, I mean, we have so many people logging into these. We have some more webinars coming up. You can see the list here, and you can also see the list on our Demonstrated Success website. Here, this link will bring you straight to the page that lists it, or you can go to the Demonstrated Success page, which looks like this, and click on workshops and then virtual teaching, and that will bring you to the list of webinars we have coming. We also have we're starting a new series of student singers or just music, student music series. We're going to start on Wednesdays. This Wednesday at 4 o'clock, we start with Sam Robbins, who is a local New Hampshire student from Portsmouth. And he was a contestant on American Idol and on The Voice. So please join us for that. We're going to have students from all over the state. That will be exciting. I also said I was going to tell you something about our new logo. Here's our new logo with things are not touching each other. Our old logo, it was smaller and everything was squished together. Now we're practicing social distancing.
Ann?
Yeah, Mike?
This is Mike. I just want to add for everybody. Sam Robbins will be performing at 4 p.m. on Wednesday, and we encourage you to send this to your students. The hope is that families and students can enjoy hearing other students perform. So Sam, as a public school alum from New Hampshire, is going to start us off on Wednesday, and then we're going to hopefully have some current high school alum as well performing for us going forward. So look out for those, and please feel free to send the link to the Facebook page to your students and parents as well.
Yeah, and your music teachers, so that we can find more students that way. So yes, this is pretty exciting, I think. Here are our email addresses, Karen, Mike, that was Mike just talking. Mine is Ann Mordecai at the front. We have lots of questions. I promise we will send those answers. We're going to send you a link within probably within 2 hours, that has the PowerPoint, and it's going to have a link to the video and the certificate. And I want to thank you all for joining.